Welcome back inside the Now Morning Show. School is out, and guess what? We want you to keep your children as safe as possible. We have more inside your spotlight on now.
Guys, we are joined by the Children's Authority in the form of Ahelia Ramdas, the team lead at the assessment unit, to give us some more insight on how we can continue the conversation on keeping our children safe. So good morning and welcome back.
Thank you so much.
Very much for joining us to continue this long conversation. But it is one that actually starts with conversations that parents should be having long before the season.
Correct.
Give us some context as to some of the conversations that we should be looking at with our children in terms of safety during the holidays.
Okay. So, I mean, there's so many things to consider when talking about safety and the safety of our children, especially during vacation periods. So we have, in the Christmas season, safety at home. We have safety at events. We have safety just out and about shopping in the streets. It's so many things for us to speak to our children about. So when we think about safety at home, the first and the most obvious thing is that we want to ensure that we're not leaving our children unattended at home.
Right.
And I want to say that very clearly. Leaving our children at home, saying the neighbor threw in the eye or the granny threw in the eye, that's not sufficient, because you know, the state that we currently live in, there's so many things, you know, so many unexpected fires or, you know, strange persons in the area, and, you know, so many different things that can happen to our children, and we don't want to leave them unattended and ill-prepared to deal with something that may come about suddenly.
Right.
So we want to make sure that they always have supervision, adult supervision. We want to avoid leaving children home with other children.
Right.
So we tend to think, they're 15, they're 16, they're responsible, but do they know what to do in the event of an emergency to care for a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old? Do they know how to get them to safety? Do they know how to get help? So we want to make sure that we're leaving them with trusted adults. I'm stressing on the word trusted adults. And we want to go through different procedures with our children. Okay, so I'm leaving you home with auntie and uncle. I'm leaving you home with grandma or grandpa, or this particular individual who you've known all your life. We trust them, they're safe. But if something happens, if there's a fire, if someone strange comes by, this is what I need you to do. This is the number I need you to call. So we actually have to rehearse and practice different scenarios with our children, and don't take it for granted that they're going to know in the spur of the moment what they need to do, you know. And that's at home.
Right.
Then we have to think about safety at events. If we're taking our children to events, to Christmas villages and to parties, and even to friends' house or relatives' houses, we need to know what to tell our children. So if someone makes you uncomfortable, if someone approaches you in a particular way, if you see something that is scary or, you know, not right, this is what you do. This is who you go to. This is where you find yourself. Again, we have to explicitly teach and rehearse with our children what is important to know, what is the important information to know about themselves, how to identify themselves, how to identify the adults that they're with, where to get help. All of those things are very important. And of course, we want to be mindful of children's personal safety, right? I had someone ask me, when we talk about being mindful of who we allow our children to kiss and hug and whose laps they sit on, someone asked me, so our children can't be affectionate with family anymore. And that is, of course, not what we're saying at all. We're saying to be mindful of who and how we allow people to interact with our children. Be observant of if they're comfortable or not. You know, because sometimes we have children, they're not comfortable with the excessive hugging and kissing, and everyone is a auntie and everyone is an uncle. We need to be mindful of who we're bringing into the space of our children, who we're sensitizing our children to. Right. Because, of course, we know that predators are the same people that you grew up with, the same people you've known all your life. And so while we don't want to create unnecessary fear, and we don't want to create unnecessary barriers, we still have to be mindful of how we allow our children to interact with others during this busy season.
Everywhere that we go.
Yes, absolutely. Everywhere that we go. Going out into public, we want to be mindful that if we're going out into public with our younger children, same rules apply. Go through the processes. If you get separated from me, this is where you need to go. This is who you need to call. This is how you need to identify yourself. If it's very young children, you want to have some sort of name tags on them so that if they are lost or separated, you can know who to call, know who to get to. Your older children, you rehearse, where do you go to, where do you meet me? You teach them how to identify security personnel, you teach them, a specific spot to go to if they need to, if they've gotten separated. So all of these things are important. Again, underscoring, do not take it for granted. Do not go into busy areas. It's you and 5-6 children on your own. Take a friend along to help you. Have eyes on them at all times. Have hands on them at all times. So just that we're sure that they're not separated, they're not grabbed up by someone, they're not getting themselves into danger, because aside from the danger of someone interacting with them in an inappropriate manner, you have younger children who they're going to get excited by the lights and the trees and the music, and they're going to run off and touch things and play with things. So we just want to be mindful that roadways are busy, shopping spaces are busy, beaches are busy, rivers are busy, all of these places are busy, and we want to be sure that we have eyes on our children at all times. Now, these conversations can take place at any time, of course, but one thing that should probably be more fixed is your routine. The thing about the holidays, though, is that the routine should change. You don't have to get up as early. You don't necessarily have to do the same things that you would have before. What is the type of routine you would suggest during the holiday period to make sure that safety is at paramount importance? So, like you said, it's holiday time, so we're giving our children a little bit of a break. They're not getting up at 5:30, 6 o'clock. So, it's not really a change in routine. It's just we're a bit more relaxed in how we approach, engaging our children. So yes, they still have to wake up at a certain time. I still recommend that. And you have the activities lined up. Again, not so fixed that you have a checkbox that we're doing this today and this order and this amount of time, but your children should know, hey, this is what we're going to do today. Let's prepare ourselves mentally, emotionally. If you're going out shopping with them, you tell them ahead of time so that they prepare themselves, and you rehearse what you need to rehearse with them as you go along. So we're going out today. I need you all to be mindful. It's going to be crowded, so you all need to stay close to me. Make sure you hold my hand. If you have to assign them to someone else, their buddies for the day, you do all of those things in the morning as you're setting the pace for them during the day, and you sort of give them markers as to how the day will run, and that sort of prepares them mentally and emotionally to go out into a busy space, but also just to know what's coming, what's happening, where we need to be, what we need to be doing. We want to be mindful that children have just spent the last 3 or so months in school. They just came through an exam period, so we want to mix it up a little bit. Yes, they have their chores to do, which they absolutely should help you do. It's Christmas, it's busy, everyone's cleaning. But you also want to mix in a little bit of fun, a little bit of relaxation for them as well. Take them out to the malls, take them out for a little bit of light shopping, but I would advise, if you're going to do the heavy Christmas shopping or the heavy grocery shopping, that you find someone to care for them while you do that, because you don't want in that rush. We all know how hectic grocery stores can be during the Christmas time. We don't want our little children between us and in between all of these crowds and trolleys and all of these things. That's dangerous for them as well. So we just want to be mindful that the routines should have some sort of flexibility to them, but should still give the children some sort of structure and something to look forward to and move toward as they work through the vacation period. Now, as much as we're talking about children specifically, a lot of these things that we as adults can identify with, making sure that we're mindful of not just physical harm, but actually in terms of mentally preparing us to navigate the day emotionally as well, is really important, and really a benefit to the parents as well, or the supervisors, as I might be. So let's talk a little bit about one of the biggest things that we tend to give children to give us an ease, that tablet, that device. Safety on those digital spaces or those particular items is a little bit different, because it's not necessarily physical, metaphysical, if I could say, and it's relatively new to a lot of persons. What are some big ticket items that you have to stand on when it comes to using devices and maintaining that safety? So when we're talking about devices, we need to understand and appreciate the age appropriateness of the content that we expose our children to, first of all. So if we're going to give our children devices, There's a different time limit for a different age of child. So very young children, we don't want them on there for hours at a time. Small blocks, 15, 20 minutes, and then they're off, and then you redirect them to a different activity. Or older children, they're on a little bit longer. So we're just mindful of how much screen time we give to them for various reasons. And then the kind of content. We have to be aware that more and more predators are online utilizing animated characters and utilizing things that are familiar to our children, and creating adult content from these characters to draw children in. And so we have to be mindful of what we're exposing our children to. Some of these gaming platforms, they have open chat rooms, all of these things. So if we're allowing our children to game on devices and to access particular sites on devices, we want to make sure we have our controls in place. I want to just know what is appropriate for you and what is not. A lot of our social media platforms right now, they have age limits that are largely ignored. You know, we want to be mindful that these are the spaces that anyone can interact with your children. We are openly sharing information now. You can get locations so very easily off of these social media applications. So we want to be mindful about teaching our children what is safe. So we have to explicitly, again, not take it for granted, teach our children that while online might be the current in thing, and you want to be involved in these games and all of these things, that it is dangerous, that there's an appropriate way to interact with online content, with devices, and show them how to do it. Have your parental controls in place. Be age appropriate when having these conversations, when exposing our children to all of these devices, and just generally have those conversations that we've fallen off of you know, especially in this hectic season where supervision might be a little bit less. It's not right. We don't want it to decrease, but the reality is it might be a little bit less. So we want to make sure that we have those conversations and we keep it in the fore of their mind that, hey, let's be smart, let's be safe. Yes, you like how you look in this picture, but we don't have to post everything. If we post it, we don't have to tag where we are. We don't have to put timestamps on everything. We just need to be a little bit more mindful of how we utilize these spaces and utilize these distractions for our children. And even if we're putting them on devices, we have to know that it can't be that they're on a device for hours somewhere in the house. You have to check in. You have to go take a peek, see what they're doing. Yes, children have the right to privacy, but parents have the responsibility to ensure that their children are safe in these spaces, which means you have to do the checks, which means you have to tell them, hey, sure, it's your device, but I have to do checks to make sure that you are being kept safe in this space.
I could see us doing an entire segment on the privacy of children versus the responsibility of parents. Not necessarily because they're one or the other, but because they work in tandem. But I do want to go back to parts of the conversation earlier where we talked largely about, yes, the conversations we'll have, but that autonomy and that safety they feel about themselves interacting with persons. We will see behavioral changes in children when they are uncomfortable with other adults, other children, and sometimes you'd always pick up those cues. So let's talk a little bit about some of the things that we might want to pay attention to, some of the things that we may want to discuss with our children ahead of time, as that would probably cover quite a bit of the safety as it starts with them. Where do we begin?
So it's important when having that particular conversation, I always say that if you know your child, if you have a genuine, open, good relationship with your child, you would know the things that trigger them. You would know the things that make them uncomfortable. And you're just it's important to just be aware of your children. Have eyes on them and know, right? And lots of parents do know. It's just we get caught up in the excitement of greeting this one and meeting this one and
putting away the house and everything else.
That sometimes it's not that we don't know them, that we may rightly just miss it. So it's important that we have to remain grounded and cognizant of the fact that, okay, there are lots more people in our space right now. We have to keep our eyes on our children. We have to be mindful of what's happening with them. We have to have those conversations about what is comfortable for you versus not. And some children will tell you, I don't like to hug Uncle so-and-so, maybe, and this might sound funny, because he smells funny, or maybe because I don't like the way he touches me hair, mommy. And those things are important things, because as much as in our culture, everyone is auntie and uncle, we show love by hugs and kisses and all of these things, we have to be mindful that as an adult, when you are uncomfortable, you like to stay away. you would keep yourself separate or away, or keep a distance. And so why are we not affording children the same respect and the same autonomy to know that I don't like how this feels, this makes me uncomfortable? And it's not about our children being disrespectful, because that's how some adults read it.
Right.
If you don't hug uncle when he comes to give you a hug, that's disrespectful, you have to hug him. But what are we teaching our children? To be uncomfortable and to put themselves in positions where they are uncomfortable, and to accept that, and they're going to grow with that. So we want to be mindful that we teach them that you can be respectful, you can greet in a respectful manner, but it doesn't always have to cross physical boundaries, right? So we want to look at the discomforts on their face. You'll see their facial expressions.
Right.
Their smiles won't quite reach their eyes, or they wouldn't smile at all, or they might fuss and pull away, or they might give a little half hug.
Right.
All of those things are signs that our children are not comfortable. Be mindful of it.
Now, Helia, as we always say, you could come back every day. This conversation will never be done, but you've given us some really important details to consider, and it all starts with a conversation. We will continue to make sure our children are safe during the holidays by joining you again, or having you join us again for another conversation. But for now, thank you so much for getting the ball rolling.
Thank you so much for having us.
Hoping you viewers feel a little bit more supported, because the Children's Authority continues to be a definite asset that we will happily share with you here on the Now Morning Show. But for now, up next, we're talking fire safety. Stick around, guys.